What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a new episode of the TRIFLIX cast. It is Nioca Johnston here, special guest today from Cake Me Away. She is a baker, caker, and dream maker, and we are so excited to have you on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, people that don't know, she makes great cakes. But on top of that, this is TRIFLIX Cast, a show where we interview creative, innovative, entrepreneurial people trying to make a difference in their community and better themselves along the way. And entrepreneur, clearly. Even though you haven't started like an official bakery, you still bake and you make cake, and that's awesome.
I do.
Yeah. So if you guys know of anybody that you think has a cool story too, we'd love to have them on. But today we got a really cool guest, a longtime friend. We've known each other since I was probably 4.
You're little.
I was in first grade with your brother, so that has to be at least like 4 to 6, somewhere in that range. Yeah. So it's been a long time, and it's been cool getting to see you grow. And then, jump around a little bit in profession and find something that you really enjoy. But people want to know about you, and if you wouldn't mind explaining who you are and what it is that you're doing.
Okay. Well, I'm 26. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm married. I have 2 kids, and I run Cake Me Away.
Cake Me Away. All right.
Yes.
So you just make cakes and nothing else, right?
No, I do cakes and cupcakes and meringues, which most people don't order meringues.
What's a meringue?
So it's like it's like a sweet treat.
Is it like really light, fluffy, whipped type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like whipped egg whites basically and
Okay.
sugar.
Is that similar to like
Like a candy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like a harder marshmallow.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
I guess, yeah.
Is it soft on the inside then?
Yes.
Do they taste good?
Yes. I can do a lot of different flavors.
So why don't you think people order those?
Just because they're more for like holiday treats, I guess. So people get them for like treat bags for holidays.
And people, I mean, when I think of making cakes, I'm thinking of weddings, and that's like, I assume, a pretty big market for you.
Yes.
But what other types of events or different things do you do on top of that? Because clearly holidays are a thing.
Birthdays, anniversaries, just because cakes.
Just because.
Yeah.
I think my family's ordered at least one of those so far.
Yes.
And all of them have been good. I think we've probably,
Thank you.
Do you know off the top of your head how many we've had? I think it's been like 3
or
or 4.
4.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so delicious.
Well, thank you.
And we've always, and I never know when we're going to get them because, again, they're just because cakes. But when we do, they're great. And for me, like, I knew you personally, so it was easy to find you. But I'm sure there will be people that want to reach out after listening to this today. And if they don't make it to the end of the podcast, where we usually plug people's stuff, where could they find you just off the top of your head?
So I just have a Facebook page. It is Cake Me Away, and you just put it in Facebook and you can find it. I also have an Instagram, but it's called Cakes by Nye because Cake Me Away was taken. Yeah.
I hate branding. It's so difficult because you get the perfect name and someone already had it.
Exactly.
From like 10 years ago, and they probably don't even use it anymore.
I know.
That's the worst.
But Facebook is what I normally use. People just message me through there, or my number's on there and they can call me, text me, and figure out from there.
Yeah, right on. So how long have you been doing this type of work? And like even before you started getting paid for it, like how long have you been baking? And then at what point did you start charging?
So I really started baking when I was younger. I had an interest in baking with my family, but I never really thought I could ever do it as like a profession. And I started Cake Me Away in December of 2017. I was a stay-at-home mom, so I was like, I gotta find something to entertain myself with other than, taking care of the children. I had to have some hobby, so I came up with Cake Me Away, and I sold cupcakes really cheap to get my name out and to perfect like the different flavors and different types of designs I could do. And then slowly people started asking me to do cakes or cupcakes, and initially I said no to ever doing a cake. So
what was your reason for
they
saying
look
no?
so hard. So there was the cupcakes are easy. You make them like individually. You ice them really easy. I mean, it was easy.
And if you mess up one, it's
you
like
can
a
fix it.
Yeah, it's a fraction, you know. It's not like the whole cake's out of the way.
Exactly. And a cake was just so intimidating, and I'd never tried to make one. So people slowly started asking me to do cakes, and I would turn them away. And then my mom asked me to do family events for like birthday cakes, and I said, sure, I'll try it. So, it took a lot of trial and error, and I started taking cakes that way, and then slowly moving my way up with just cakes. Now I just mainly do cakes instead of cupcakes. So it's like the opposite.
Cool. Yeah. Well, for our wedding, we're doing both, of course.
Yes.
Small cake and a bunch of cupcakes. So many different flavors. I had no idea they could even come in that many, by the way.
Yes.
So that was really cool. But talking about your cakes, and I mean, can anyone make a cake?
Yes.
Why is your cake so special?
I put a lot of work into my cakes. I mean, they're all made with love.
I mean, for me, if I want to make a cake, I'd go to the store and get a box, though.
Well, yeah, but it won't taste as good.
And I agreed with that. But so my point being, you make all your cakes homemade. But what does homemade actually mean? Because I grew up, of course, with grandparents that cooked a lot, but single mom growing up, she was really busy, and we didn't always get the home cooked. It was whatever was available type of thing. And there were special occasions, and now I mean we got the just because cakes, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting some good food. We're getting really good food, whether she's making or buying it. But I don't know the difference between homemade and a box cake.
Well, I mean, you can go to Walmart and buy a cake, but they're all gonna taste the same, and they're all probably from a big manufacturer, and mine aren't. I put in a lot of thought and detail, and can make just like any flavor you want. So I work really hard on my cakes.
Yeah. So what is what is the actual process of no, I don't mean like the entire thing, but again, like the homemade thing, I think that's really cool, and I think it's something that clearly makes you unique, because I've done a little bit of research on cakes. I don't know if you're aware. And I was reading online that a lot of cake manufacturers, large or small, home pop shops and all that, will use the cake mix, because to them it's like we're selling the look, but not like the taste just isn't there. Like when people are ordering the cakes, they're like, I just want it to look this way. But on top of looking that way, it's really important to have something people enjoy to eat. Right?
Exactly. You want it to taste good. You don't want it to just taste bland. You want something over the top.
And I've been to quite a few weddings, especially recently, because I'm 23 and all my friends are married age. I'm going to get married too. You're doing the cakes, of course. And a lot of my friends, I'm not going to say anyone specific, because we're young, we got college debt, and it's expensive to buy good things. A lot of their cakes don't taste great. It just tastes very bland. So I don't know if that has anything to do with being the homemade or just a mass manufactured type of thing where they're sending out sheets of it at the time. And I don't know. It seems like a lot of cakes now are like just like a fondant, but you do a lot of unique
things.
Mine
are all buttercream.
Oh, okay.
I do not like to mess with fondant.
What's the reason? It's just the taste?
Well, it's really expensive. It tastes terrible.
Yes.
And it's hard to work with. So I usually, if I use fondant, it's just like little details. It's not going to be a whole cake.
Yeah.
So.
And fondant's like the harder, thin. Usually it's thin, I guess. But
it's like gum paste, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. The texture for me is just kind of weird.
It's like you're chewing bubble gum, but it doesn't like get any. Like it just starts to slowly dissolve.
Yeah, just sugar. It's just hard sugar.
It is.
Right on. But let's talk about we talked about your journey of getting here, but whenever you first started, you'd mentioned like, oh, I got free time, I want to make cupcakes. Did you ever did you have an original vision for your company, or is this just like a hobby thing? Did you ever have aspirations to go beyond this? If so, like, have you deviated from that vision at all?
So I originally wanted a bakery really bad. When I started making cupcakes, I was like, I'm not very good at this. So, like, I really can't. I didn't think I would be able to sell anything. And then people wanted my cupcakes. So they got kind of boring. They're the same designs, same flavors. So I decided to switch it up. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of tutorials, a lot of Instagram videos, and all the newest trends I wanted to keep up with. So I've done like the fault line cakes and the rope borders, which you see on almost all my cakes on the tops of them. The sprinkle placement, that takes hours. But it's fun to stay on top of the trends, and I think that's what makes me unique. So I never really thought that I would get there, and as soon as I got out of my comfort zone, I was able to. And now people send me Pinterest cakes, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. Like, totally. And then sometimes I'll say yes, and I'm like, why did I do that? Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I go and try it, and it turns out great.
That's awesome.
So I wanted a bakery, and then I think now it's just more of a hobby, so I can spend time with my children and still give people great cakes.
Yeah. Do they like cakes too?
My daughter doesn't.
Really?
She doesn't like cake. She likes icing, but she doesn't like cake.
Yeah, I asked that kind of half-handedly because I just assumed kids love cake, but
she does not.
Huh. Interesting. My brother, he's probably 5 years old now, 4, 5, somewhere in that range. But he is so particular. Like, he will eat all the icing off and then leave the cake, or he'll like do the icing first and then eat the cake. But like the order is just so weird to me because like we consume the whole thing. Yeah. So I mean, in general, kids are just strange, all unique, all doing their own thing. And the coolest part is they don't care what anyone else thinks.
No, that is so true.
Yeah. So let's talk about. I mean, at the moment, it sounds like your vision is just keep this as a hobby and keep you having time with your family. And I think that's awesome. Great work-life balance. Do you have any future goals as far as like any types of cakes that you haven't made but you're wanting to? Any people, I don't know, do you collaborate in cake making?
I do on Instagram.
Do you really?
I do, yeah.
That's cool.
Yes, I've done 2 collaborations now, and it's been pretty fun.
So what is I mean, to me that sounds like I make the bottom half, you make the top half of the cake, and we put them together.
No. So they'll set up a collaboration, then they'll message me and say, do I want to be a part of it? And of course I do. So like I was just in a Valentine's Day collaboration, and the theme was black. So it was a black Valentine's Day collaboration. So we all made black themed Valentine's Day cakes, and so mine was black and red.
Aww.
And then I posted on Facebook and sold it for an auction.
That's cool.
And somebody bought it.
Yeah. So I never would have.
So like they just get a bunch of bakers together through the Instagram community, and we all like lift each other up and share each other's posts and get more exposure. And it doesn't matter if they have 50,000 followers or 10 followers, they'll include everybody, and it really helps you like grow just on Instagram. Now,
do you guys like compete at all? Like
no, there's really no competition on Instagram.
That's so
like
nice.
We're all
wholesome.
Like they're so nice. Yes.
Yeah, it's, like I don't know, maybe it's just in the film industry, you'll have, and I don't mean like Hollywood by any means, but I'm talking about like the small people starting out, the 10 followers to a couple thousand followers type of people. There's such a big culture for the competition side of it. So it's like, let's have a 48-hour film challenge, which is great, by the way. I love doing those. And I don't know, maybe it's the different cultures based out of, how the market starts. So like anybody in filmmaking probably has or had aspirations of going to Hollywood, and Hollywood's a very dog eat dog. It's really competitive. It's and I don't know if that culture has kind of worked its way down into the lower segments so much, but I do find it really interesting that your guys sounds so much more positive.
Yeah, there's no competition. We all, if we are inspired by their cakes, we say we were inspired by this person for this design, and then that like the Instagram person usually shares it, and they're like, I'm so happy like that you're inspired by me.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're all very positive. I haven't seen any negative like comments or anything. It's all pretty happy.
Did you have an original like inspiration or somebody that you worked most closely with, or was it mostly just family getting started out?
No, it was just family. Yeah. I did one wedding like right off the bat, and it challenged me, and but it was really fun doing it, and they loved it. So it was probably 2 years ago that I did that.
Yeah.
And I just grew from there.
So what's like, I mean, I don't bake. I like to cook. I love cooking. I just made a ton of beef jerky this weekend. Turned out pretty good.
That sounds really good.
I wish it was sweeter is the only thing. I should have added more honey. But to me, a challenging dish is, I didn't add enough of one ingredient. But for most of the baking recipes, I assume like it's probably like you're given instructions for measuring things, or is it more of like a feel for things and you're like, I just add a little of this, a little of that, and it's more of off of like a muscle memory?
Yeah, it really depends. If I'm trying out a new flavor, I'll look up some previous recipes or do some trial and error. But if it's like basic things I'm already making and I just want to up the flavor or make it more distinct, then I'll just add like, for like all my lemon cakes, I add lemon juice, like fresh lemon.
I just
and I
assumed
use
it was
lemon zest.
Yeah,
I use lemon zest, and that helps with that flavor. Orange is like the hardest flavor to get through for anything.
Really?
So I haven't made an orange cake yet.
Have you tried, or you just haven't made one?
I have not.
Oh.
I just recently tried banana, and I really liked banana, and everybody else. It's been really popular, so I'm assuming they like it too.
I think banana is probably one of the most forgiving flavors because it's so strong, but it's never like, that's too much banana. Yeah. No one ever says that.
No.
I actually had my first banana donut ever.
That sounds really good.
I didn't know you could. It's like I always assumed growing up when I saw custard, it's like, I can have a banana filled donut. They're like, no, but you can have custard. So to me, it always made me sad because I was like, they don't exist. But Jack's Donut. I absolutely love Jack's Donut. We finally got one up in Franklin. I think that's the closest one we have. I always call them the purple box donuts.
Oh.
But they have some, and we tried them this week. I was driving my fiance up to the airport. It's like, let's stop and get breakfast, and that's absolutely amazing.
I haven't tried it.
Do you consider donuts part of the baking industry?
I mean, if they want to be.
Would you ever consider doing anything like that? No?
Not donuts.
No?
No way.
Why? Is it just the fried aspect of it? Or
it just looks hard.
Really?
Yeah, to get the batter right. And then I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
To get, because when people order donuts, they don't order one. They order
a dozen.
20. Yeah, like big amounts.
Yeah, and it's never one flavor. They want them all.
Yeah, exactly. So I have not tried that yet.
Yeah.
Just like royal icing cookies. I have someone I know who does royal icing cookies.
What's royal icing? Is that
so it's like a sugar cookie, and they use royal icing to decorate them. So they're like the really smooth, like with different designs and like, I don't know, they're really cool. They're really creative, and I don't think I could do have the patience for royal icing. It just seems really hard to make. And then to make sugar dough, like sugar cookie dough. So I think I'll always just stick with cakes and cupcakes.
Yeah, I mean, when I was asking what's challenging about baking, it wasn't because I don't think it's challenging. It's just, it all seems hard to me. So I don't know, to somebody that's already been doing it for a while, what's actually difficult. Because it's like, for me, following instructions is hard. And to me, that would be the hardest part. But it's like, if you follow instructions well, it's like, no, there's so many more things that are significantly more challenging than how well can you read and comprehend it.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult like I said, mine's a lot of trial and error. So I've had plenty of messed up cakes that don't look exactly like I want them to, and I'll like switch up the design, and then everybody loves it, and I'm like, wasn't even supposed to look like that.
Yeah. Do you ever get it sounds like you have quite a few people calling you or getting a hold of you. Do you ever have the ones where you tell them the price and then they're like, oh, my cousin can do it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have somebody who can do it cheaper, or they'll just ignore me. They'll just like block me, or like say like, oh, that's way too much.
Yeah, at least those people are nice. No, a lot of times we'll have, again, going back to like the film guys, anytime we're on, we always joke about that because, or photography for that matter, anytime you're talking about weddings or high cost events, anniversaries, that type of thing, where they're like, we want this very specific. It's like, yeah, sure, we can do that. That's actually part of our business. And they're like, well, what's your price? And you tell them, and then you have to justify your price to them, which is totally normal. That's sales. Like you should have to justify your product. You're asking them for money. They want to know whether they're getting a return. But then you tell them, and to me, it still sounds like either my product or the people we have on will talk, and they're like, yeah, my product sounds way better. But then they're like, my cousin can do it. Yeah. My cousin's got a camera. They can do the video. Yeah. It's like, do they edit too?
Does the quality, does the time,
yeah.
does it all match?
Have you seen those Instagram posts or just the memes in general of
I've shared of you.
all these people, you know, asking for cakes or cupcakes, and it's like, my cousin can do it is the meme, and it's just a ton of very poorly designed cakes. They're so bad, it seems intentional.
Yeah, I don't know how people could be that bad. I see them and it's like, what? Like, because I'll put up like a picture of mine, and then, you know, somebody says like, oh, I can find someone cheaper, and then like, yeah, the meme is like a squished cake, or like,
you should just start sending those immediately to clients whenever they even mention it, like, cousin, get it cheaper, anything like that.
I really have thought about it.
Please do.
I'd like to keep people liking my cake, and so I think regardless if they're gonna say somebody else can do it cheaper, let them. If it turns out bad, I mean, they wanted to do it.
It'd be so sassy.
People think it's so easy. Like, I promise you, it's not.
It is not. And then we're talking to I can't recall. It was one of our most recent ones. We're talking about people. It was off camera, and I think it was Ryan Furr talking about how people don't comprehend overhead. So to them, well, okay, that's the cost of the materials, but then they don't consider the cost of your time. So then you're like, okay, if I break this all down and I'm charging you $500 and it takes me 10 to 15 hours, this is what it would be per hour. And that's what they do in their head. And they don't take into consideration your electricity, right? It seems cheap and it seems silly, but anytime you're trying to run a profitable business, you have to know everywhere money's leaking in order to become more efficient. And you'll have electricity, you'll have the investment of pots and pans or anything you're cooking with. It's like, if you want good product and not the non-stick pan that's going to flake off and kill somebody, like, if you want something really nice, that's a big investment. You easily drop in anywhere from, I'm guessing, a couple hundred to probably a couple thousand really quick. Yeah. You want a good mixer? It's like all this stuff. Whenever you look at those prices, you have to divide that out by how many uses will I get of this item for a profitable job. And then you divide that out. So I'm going to use this blender for 20 jobs, and it cost me $200. So then you can divide that out and get your $10 per use. And then to your client, you have to tack that on, but you can't tell them I'm charging you for a blender.
Yeah. So see, my problem is I don't charge for my time.
Oh my goodness.
Well, because people don't want my cakes.
Should we cut this from the podcast?
I mean, I can't, because it takes anywhere from 4 to 8 hours to do a cake. Yeah. And people won't pay when I take in all my ingredients and everything. People won't pay me for my time. Aw. So
you're doing this for the love of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so...
Yeah, but people don't see that. They think I'm just like way overcharging. I'm like, this is the amount it costs for my ingredients, and for, you know, sprinkles are like $12 a bottle. Yeah. Like, people don't know that my cookie cutters for all my designs are $10 to $12 each. Yeah. So they don't see that I'm spending all that money.
So there's I'll give you a little sales help here. There's a couple of I mean, if you're doing this for the love of it, keep doing what you're doing, and by all means. But if you're trying to, you know, $50 per job here and there profit, that's vacation money. That's child college fund or vocational school. I don't know, because you said you base it on the job. So for filmmaking, same way, it's really difficult to do that. But it is good to try to find a 3-tier system where you have good, better, best. And almost always people, unless they're loaded, are going to go with the good or the better. Very rarely will they ever go for the best. And we've had a couple clients that, you know, do that, and you always feel great when you do. But, you know, let them know what the materials are. And it's like, all right, for this price range, we're going to use this. I'm going to invest about this much time into it, and it'll look within this range, or maybe go by size or whatever, however you best value that. And I'm just realizing this now after basically operating for a year with a single member and probably another 4 years without, having not necessarily a background in sales, but an understanding of how can you validate the worth of your product to somebody is so important. And I've always overlooked it as like, if you got a good product, people will pay for it. Not the case. People are just so, especially in the Midwest, and I don't mean this by any like disparaging way, because I love the Midwest. It's very simple, and I'm a simple guy. But with simple comes, I don't need anything fancy. And it's like, trust me, it will mean so much more to you on your wedding day if you spend the extra $200, because whenever you're 30 years later and you're looking back on it, I mean, I'm not married. I haven't been married for 30 years. But a lot of times I'm talking to people that have recently got married, or people that have been married for 10 years. And they're like, I wish we would have gone all out. I wish we would have done the honeymoon right after if we had the funds. And then some of them, they say they wish they eloped. But generally, the majority of what I hear and anecdotally is people wish they'd spent more money on it. So you have to use both logic and emotion to sell people a product. And it's not to manipulate them. It's because it's worth it to them. They just don't always know that. And you want to prevent them from like seeing that later in the future. But I don't know. That's
I agree. I wish I would have made my wedding cake.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I really
cool.
do, because I didn't like ours. I didn't. We went, and I wish we would have had a better photographer. And I had so many wishes, but I mean, at the end of the day, it goes by so fast. Yeah. And it's your wedding. You're still married.
Yeah. I just always feel so bad whenever I'm telling couples that, especially like the photography or any of the wedding, because it's like, I'm very fiscally minded. So I care about like the way something works monetarily. So it's like, if that's your budget, then stick with it. Yeah. But that's where the good, better, and best comes in. It's like, do you want something mediocre that's a little bit bigger, or would you rather have something that's great, but you might, hold back a little bit? And, depending on the budget, I would never push somebody to do something that puts them at a financial risk, of course. But if you have the money, it's okay to spend that. Like, you don't have to Scrooge McDuck it, hold it all in the vault.
Well, I work with almost like any budget. Some people will be like, can I have this cake? I'll give them a price, and they'll be like, well, I really can't afford it. I'm like, well, what's your budget? I'll show you what I can do for your budget. Yeah. So
no, that's a good point. I think that shows that you genuinely care about your customers.
I really do. I think the reason I do cakes, so it took me a while to figure out why I do cakes, and I do it because I get to make people's day special. Like birthday cakes and wedding cakes, they're all going to be in pictures that people are going to have for years. And they're going to look at them, and they're going to love them, and it's going to be because of me.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to make people's memories. Like, it makes it, I don't know, it sounds sentimental, but that's what I feel. Like, I'm just happy to make someone's day or make someone's, year or whatever it is, that it excites me.
Yeah, I like that, and I think that's great. One of the guys working here, Ben, our photographer, that's how he got started. He wanted to take photos of his friends. He wanted to capture these beautiful moments and add his like touch to their story. And then anytime that they look back on it, he's not going to be there, but they're going to be happy about it, and he'll know that he was a part of that. And that's such a cool feeling, right?
It is.
But let's talk about Hill Zion Records for a minute, because we're talking right now about sticking with your budget, right? Talking about sponsorships. And we work with a couple people right now, but Hill Zion Records is one of our reoccurring ones, one of our favorites. And regardless of your budget, you can still be a sponsor like Hill Zion Records. And what they are is a record company, record label, record company based out of Nashville, Tennessee, producing some good family fun Christian music. It's all rap, R&B, but it's nice because you get that godly music with a little bit of an upbeat tune to it. So if you got kids in the car and maybe they're getting a little tired of the K-Love. I love K-Love. I love the bridge. I love them all, but sometimes you need variation. God made music, man. And we shouldn't exclude any of them specifically because we don't think it's cool or maybe it's too out there. You know, if they're bringing glory to God, then that's awesome. So I highly recommend you go check them out. We'll have links to them in the description below. That's Hill Zion Records. Check out X Truth. Taurus Hearns is his name. Great guy. Does a lot of really cool music, really good upbeat stuff. But that's just my take on it. So right now we're coming in. We got about probably 10, 15 minutes left. I can't remember when we started because conversations are cool and I lose track of them. But let's talk about the evolution a little bit. So your business, it sounds like the primary things where you start out with cupcakes and you're like, let's try cake. And then that was really hit or miss as you challenged yourself. You move into wedding cakes. I don't know. Do you have any ideas of what's next? Is there things that you would like to try? Anything new? Sounds like cookies are cool.
Yeah, I probably won't try cookies.
No, just because how much work? Or
yes, what? Just a lot of work, a lot of time. I applaud everyone who can do royal.
But you just get a
cookie
cutter and you just punch them all out. Isn't that easy? You
gotta make all the sugar cookie dough and make sure that they're perfect, and then the icing has to be like certain consistencies, and they take like days to dry. Like. No.
It just shows how ignorant I am of baking. It's not something I do, clearly.
I wouldn't have known, but I watch a lot of Instagram videos and YouTube tutorials, and that really put into perspective how difficult things can be.
Yeah.
So, like, I did a cheeseburger cake that looks like a cheeseburger.
But
I don't know, but it was all cake.
Oh, okay.
It was all cake. Completely edible. And I followed a tutorial. I like how to cake it, and it's a YouTube place that that they show how to do cakes and stuff. And I followed it, and I watched it 40 times to make this cheeseburger cake because somebody wanted it, and I wanted to be over the top. Mm-hmm. They sent me, a picture of what they wanted, and I was like, I could do better.
Yeah.
So I did, and it was like a huge hit on Facebook. All because I watched this YouTube tutorial that took, and it took 8 hours to do that cake.
Yeah.
So it was probably my longest cake I've ever done. But, it was really fun. But I wouldn't have known how much work it took until I tried it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. That goes for so many things too. It's like, that always looks easy until you give it a try, or it maybe look really hard until you give it a try. And you just don't know. Some people are naturally skilled at some things. My fiance, like I was saying, she really wants to get one of those KitchenAid mixers, and she's like, I would love to learn how to bake. And her reading comprehension's so good. Very fast readers, so much better than myself, of course. Not that that's a high benchmark, but she's like, I'd love to learn how to bake. And I'm like, you'd probably be much better at it than I am, Rem. But of course she can't. She's learning to cook. She's learning. I caught myself there. And but to me, it just seems natural. It's like, it needs this, and I know what that tastes like. So it's like, let's add a little of this, and then you add a little of that, and you just make things from scratch. You're like, I bet these things would taste good together, and you just get used to it. But it's not without instructions. It's not without YouTube. It's not because it did come. I would say somewhat easy, but I'm not a Michelin chef either. It's just like something I enjoy. And talking about the jerky, somebody at work today is like, hey, I like that. I'll buy it off of you. It's like, oh, that's cool. I just made it on a Saturday when I was bored. I'm glad you liked it. That's such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Do you recall the first time someone approached you and offered you money for it, or did you just start listing the business? You're like, hey, we'll take orders.
Yeah, no, I just started listing it really. And then it's crazy, but people pay me more than what I quote them sometimes, which I'm so appreciative because but then I feel like I obviously am not charging enough, or
I agree
they
with
really
you.
like me, more than what I think.
I think it's probably because people know you don't charge for your time, and they think you're worth it.
Well, I had a young lady. She got cakes from me, loved them, paid me, what I asked, and she recently put in 2 orders with me. said, I don't care how much you charge. I don't care what they look like. She's like, I 100% trust you. Just send me the invoice and I'll pay it. And I was like, aww. Wow. Like, and people are messaging me like they trust me with their visions, and they don't even have like pictures they'll send me like an idea, and they trust me to create something that they'll love. And so far, everybody's loved it.
Yeah. That's one of the hardest things to do in life is, so, I mean, it's clear that like you're doing this for the love of it, obviously, and that's a form of artistry. And one of the hardest things to do in life is not to find what you're good at, because I think a lot of people do that, and some people get it earlier than others, but to find it and then to monetize it. Because it was one thing, like you're doing you're doing free giveaways and you're doing auctions and all these really cool things, but you didn't do it in the traditional way of here's a product, and you're going to charge X amount, and then you build up supply and demand. Like, you're doing this with like this very compassionate, like, I want to do this for you. And they're like, you know what? I want to do this for you. And then they're like giving you extra money, or they're giving you extra orders, and they're giving you so much more freedom with your business and the way that you're developing your artistry than a lot of other people in this line of work, whether that be, making cakes or anything creative, whether they're doing murals or paintings. It's hard to get to that point where people just are willing to throw money at you and say, do whatever, I know it'll be great.
Yeah. It puts a lot of confidence on me. Like, I feel so good about it, because I never thought, 2 years ago, I never thought I'd be where I am now.
Yeah.
And it feels so great because, I do 3 or 4 cakes a week.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't have weekends anymore because I'm so busy baking. So I actually just stopped baking Sundays and Mondays, because Sundays are time with my family. Everybody wants a cake, but it's always while I'm at church. Yeah. So I didn't want to miss church anymore to do baking.
Yeah.
So Sundays and Mondays I don't take orders, and Mondays just so I can have a break.
Yeah.
But Tuesday through Saturday I bake all the time. And if somebody, I say I like to have a 10-day notice, and most people do that. But sometimes, somebody's like, my baker canceled on me. I know it's in 2 days. I don't know if you can do it. And I'm like, I feel so bad. Like, of course I'll do it. Like, and then I realize I'm taking up so much of my time that I don't have.
Yeah.
But I feel so good about helping someone else. So, I definitely want to keep growing. I definitely want to keep learning new trends. Because people seem to love those, sprinkle placements, the striped cakes, and I plan on tons more of those. And I get a lot of my inspiration, obviously, from Instagram.
Yeah.
So I just want to push myself to be the best I can be, and push myself out of my comfort zone continuously, because it's fun to me too.
Yeah. Do you attribute anything specific to helping you learn or grow the most in the last 2 years? Because you said you're somewhere that you never thought you would be, so there must be some sort of catalyst or something like bolstering your growth here.
Just working really hard. Honestly, I just do everything I can to be better than I was, or ever thought I could be. I see cakes and I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. And months ago, I was telling my mom, like, I really wish I was that good. And I was sending her cakes, and I tried them, and it worked. Like, I could do them. So all I have to do is, like, believe in myself and try it, because you never know if you can do it or not.
That is such a wholesome way of looking at life. It's like I'm surrounded by a lot of the corporate ladder types. Whether they be clients or friends, or like they surround yourself with 5 people and you can predict where you'll be in the next couple of years, type of thing. And a lot of the people that I'm either close with or close proximity acquaintances, they love that competitive edge of look at somebody else and then I can do that better, and then like all of their drive is based on competition. So it is so unique and refreshing, and just seems so weird that works. Like in a very competitive capitalistic culture, you found a unique niche way of building. Like, I know you didn't initially build this, but you became engrafted into this Instagram community of, hey, we want to support each other. And then you have clients that aren't trying to nickel and dime down, like they want to support you and your mission. And then even with yourself and the way you want to grow, it's not about, I have to keep up with someone else. Like this is purely you doing this for you.
Fun. Yeah. Just, I enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's something I love. I don't do it just to, make a ton of money or because, people need it. I do it because I love it.
Forget all my sales advice. Forget all that. You're doing great. Don't worry about
it.
Thanks. Okay, let's jump into misunderstandings and miscommunication or misconceptions people have about you. Is there anything that stands out? Anything that you want to address so you don't have to repeat it for the 100th time?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I have a lot of people who ask me, how much my cakes are. I get that a lot, and every single cake is different.
Yeah.
Every aspect, every design, every flavor, every, if you want tiered, like, it's so different. And so when people just ask me that, I think that grinds my gears because I can't tell you. I mean, I don't have you don't send me a design, like I need a design or a flavor or a size.
Anything.
Yeah, because I don't just have special prices just for regular cakes. Like every single cake is different for me. So I guess that's like my biggest thing that people don't understand. Yeah. They all think there's just one price, and there's not.
And I assume with all of the cakes you've made, you've probably tried because you need to know what it tastes like before you send it to a client. Is that right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't like try everything. So I really rely on everyone's feedback. So almost every time that somebody gets an order from me, I like to follow up with them the next day or the day of and really know what they thought. And every time has been so positive.
I love that. It's like an artist that's blind. You're a baker that can't even taste their own food.
Exactly.
It's like, let me know what you think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I taste some things.
Right.
Most of my buttercreams stay the same, so I don't have to like reoccurring, like taste them every time. Flavors, are pretty, stay the same for the most part, unless I'm trying something new. But yeah, I rely on honest feedback from everyone.
That's great. All right, we're getting close to the end here. One last question for you, and then we'll start to talk about distributing all of your media and all that stuff. But advice, if anybody had to come up and ask you a question on anything, and you're like, hey, here's some advice. Do you have anything in particular? It could be life. It could be about baking, caking, family, dream making.
It would just be like take the leap. Do whatever you want. If you want to try something new, try it. Because you're not going to know if you can do it unless you try it. I would have not known I could do cakes till I tried it.
I think that's really cool because did you have a goal with whenever you first started the whole thing? Did you have a goal of what you wanted to do, or was it just you wanted to try to make a cake or just try to make cupcakes? Yeah. And you're like, let's try it.
Yeah, I just tried it. I really didn't have a goal. I really didn't think it would grow. I was just like, I'll just do cakes for families.
That is so cool.
Last year I had 200 likes on my Facebook page, and now it's 2020 and it's March and I have almost 1,000.
Wow.
So it's grown that much in a year, and like that means so much to me because that means so many people support me.
Yeah.
And I like to hear, the good feedback, and I never thought I would be where I am, and I'm so thankful for it, like, honestly. And people, who order cakes from me, I try to let them know, I really appreciate it. Like, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Like, this helps me take my kids out to, like, vacations and do fun things with them, and it means a lot.
So cool. Right on. Well, I think I personally enjoyed the conversation, and I'm really glad to have you on, and I'm sure other people that watched, listened, wherever they were checking in at, did as well. And if they did, they'd probably want to reach out to you. Maybe they want to buy a cake. Maybe they have questions. And it sounds like you have a great Instagram community too that would love to support anybody trying to get into making cakes, baking, anything like that. Where can people find you?
So my Instagram would be Cakes by Nye. It's really not something. It's just where I can post for my pictures for my cakes. So it's really not somewhere I would contact me because I don't check it all the time.
Yeah,
but Facebook.
I messaged her before she came in. She's like, I didn't get it. And then she checked her phone. It's like 30 minutes ago. She's like, yeah, my bad. So Facebook, that's where people should go.
Yes. My number's on there. People can text me or call me. I generally don't answer numbers that I don't know. So unless you leave a voicemail, I won't call you back. Facebook, just direct message me or text me. Yeah. Those are probably the best ways to reach me. And then usually Facebook, it's right to my phone, so I usually get it right away. But I book up really fast. So I try to keep my calendar on my page to see when, I'm available. So if, there's any open times, like, feel free to reach me, like, then, but I really do book up like a month in advance. So it's very important that I get notice.
Yeah, that's right now. So, but starting 2021, she'll be booking years in advance. So you guys better get on it right now.
Wouldn't that be nice? That's my new goal.
Oh, that's a good goal. Well, I'm very grateful to have you on here today. I thought it was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Monumental moment. You're the second female ever on the podcast.
Yay.
Well, third, technically. We had Randy Allman and his business partner was on here, and then we had another. But those were partners. You're the first individual, coming on here, sharing your story, and we're very glad. So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Anybody out there checking this out, listening in, whether you're on the iTunes, Spotify, podcast, anything like that, YouTube, highly recommend you should watch them on YouTube because you get to match the face with the name and the voice, and it's really cool because you might see them in public. It's a small community. I know a lot of people listening based on our demographics are from the region. So maybe you run into someone with some really cool bright hair and you're like, wow, I wonder who that is. But if you watch the podcast, that's Miss Nioca, and she works with Cake Me Away. So be sure to check her out. If you're listening on Facebook or YouTube, that's where all the links will be. You can check out any of the distributions. So go find her Facebook page, all that stuff. But if you guys know other people, anyone that you think might be cool guests, really, really interesting people in this town that have interesting stories, creative people, entrepreneurs, people trying to make a difference, we'd love to have them on. And similar to Hill Zion Records, if you want to make a donation, you want to sponsor us, it doesn't matter how big or small, we'd love to have you as part of our family. Come on in and check out the studio. We'd love it. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.